Welcome, everybody. So it is September 19th, and Powered by Me is being born. So, welcome to the launch party. We have a fun setup here, a fun agenda. You're going to meet all sorts of people. And I thought to myself, what should I do that would be different, that would add to people's experience of the book, that would be fun for me to do? And really, what I thought is, why should you just read about these people and not know who they are? I Those of you that have read Talk RX, my first book, or know me, know that I weave my own life, my own stories, my family, my world. I weave it through my book. So why shouldn't you get a sneak peek and know who these people are and let them tell you the stories that I've written about? So I wanted to take the 2D black and white and make it 3D color, an experience for you. So I'm going to be joined by many different people throughout this launch party. I'm going to be answering your questions, whatever we can do to get you the information you want, get you the answers to things that you haven't been able to get the answer to. Bring it all here, because we'd love to have an interactive and engaging experience. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here. So we're going to see, I'm going to be talking to Alexis and my team because they're going to be helping me. I'm trying to figure out if Deepan and Matt and Karen are going to be joining us. And if they are, I'd love to bring them on, because I thought, what better way to start the book launch party than talk about the firsts? Here's Deepan. Deepan, you're the first to what?
Yes, I'm the first to get. The background's a little blurred, but I'm the first to get a copy of the book.
That is the very first person,
Yes.
including me. I didn't even have the book. And Deepan opened the very first copy and has the very first copy of the book. And then we head to Matt Becker. Matt, what are you the first of?
I'm the first to read the book.
Oh my God, I got the text. It took him -2 days to read this book and then give me a whole commentary on it. And it really, really touched my heart. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being the first one to complete the book.
My pleasure. I couldn't put it down.
Thank you, Matt. You know what? Why don't I ask you? And I'll come back to all of you as soon as I introduce Karen. Karen, what are you the first to do?
Well, I guess I'm the first to do an Amazon review. So I was on the wait list, on the pre-order list. And when that little box arrived, I couldn't wait to break it open and get into it. And it's just been such a joy to be able to read. So I happily went on Amazon and posted a review. So I'm the first review. So
incredible. So this is Powered by Me, who was born today, already has a ton of firsts. And these are the people that are in my life that texted me, wrote me, sent me pictures of it, just huge supporters. And I want to say too, for each of you, I'd love you to just say a little bit about why this is important to you. Why Powered by Me? Why did you get it first, Deepan? Why did you get your hands on it? So tell us who you are. Sure. And where you are in life a little bit, so people get some context. And then why is this important?
Sure. So my name is Deepan. I've been a Neha fan for many years, I think, and I think she's a fan of mine too. So it's this mutual relationship here. I am a college student. I'm a senior now in college, which is kind of crazy. And so I feel like a book about burnout is kind of perfect for this time in my life. Sometimes being an academic for a few years can get pretty tough. And so I've been definitely feeling a little out of shape in some respects with burnout. And so I'm really excited that I have my hands on this book, and I'm excited to get reading it. I think it'll help me a lot. And then I'm also an RA on campus this year, resident assistant. And so I'm in an upper class dorm. And I think also like having a few of these techniques in my back pocket will help the residents as well as they experience burnout. So
go Gen Z, go Gen Z. You make me happy. Thank you, Deepan. And you and I have been in a Gen Z leadership program for a few years now. And I just want to say thank you because you're leading the way.
Thank you, Neha. You're the one that's got everything going.
Thanks, Deepan. How about you, Matt?
Well, I'm also a huge Neha fan.
This is like the Neha fan club.
Yeah, I'm on, as you know, I'm on the executive team of an accounting and consulting firm called BDO, and we've experienced tremendous growth in recent years. The result of that, or the impact of that, is, you know, it can be very difficult on us and on our people. And I think the real power of the book and the real power of working with you is you learn to identify burnout. That's a big component of it. But the additional positive is once you've identified burnout, the book gives you some really powerful tools to help address the burnout that you're experiencing.
I love that. You know what, Matt? I think what we're going to do after you said that, how about if we give everybody listening intuitiveintelligenceinc.com/burnout-rx. So I want the team to put that on the screen. Why don't we give you, like, for listening right now, we are going to give you a interactive pulse way that you can assess where you are from burned out to fully charged by figuring out whether you have a net gain or a net drain of energy on a physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual level. And not only do you get the interactive, cool, assessment, but I have pre-recorded videos of me walking you through the assessment. So you'll get both of those things just by doing that. Because you're right, it's not just really what you're talking about, Matt, is about how do you stay on fire in your career and in your life without burning out? You're talking about lots of growth. So that's another way that sometimes people can burn out when things are moving too fast and too much. And so thank you for that. Thank you for that. Karen, tell us, how is this affecting you and where you are?
Well, as a strategic identity consultant, one of the things that I do is I work with individuals and corporations, major companies who are experiencing difficulties. And it's so interesting how burnout from a personal also transforms to what's affecting many companies. And what I love is that when you name the enemy, the thing that's getting in the way of your happiness, it kind of makes it something that you can engage with. And what I love about the way that Neha tells this story is it's personal, but it's also global. It's, very intimate, but it's also full of like, oh my gosh, if I had just known that. So I call her a world bridger. I think that she's been an amazing person with both, her life experience that I've read now about, and also the opportunity for her to connect all these disparate perspectives and bring them together. So I will admit to being a Neha fan as well. I've introduced you by my beautiful daughter-in-law, who's a marvelous, powerful CEO. And, she said, I've met this woman. She's just incredible. And I think that this book really shares you with a lot of people in a way that I think it's going to be very exciting for people to be able to have.
Well, thank you. I am humbled. I am touched. Karen, you were also one of the people that when I was struggling to write the book, I put together a live book club. And I had to get my chapters done so that I could read them out loud with you guys on Sunday. And I love, your feedback shaped this book. And I think what people think in the end is, this book comes out and it has my name on it and it looks all, fancy. But I don't think they realize that just like a child, like it takes a village to get me there. And Deepan, I have to say, you were one of the people that helped me in one of the very first drafts of the book. You typed things out. You helped me think through it. I put even Gen Z, like, how does this sound to you? Do you remember us doing that?
Yeah, I mean, this has been in the works for like a few years. So I think I was like a freshman. I was a freshman in college once we started this. So
yep.
This book's been cooking for a while.
Well, I'm just so glad it's here. And you know what I'm going to do today? It was one of the things we thought about, like, how can we be generous to the people who take their time out to be on the call with us, and what is it that we can give back? One of the things we want to do, obviously, is get this book out in the world. So those of you that have already gotten a copy of the book, I want you to just take a moment and just think if there's somebody that you love or lead that might be struggling that could benefit as well. And so what I'm going to do is anybody who buys a hardcover book powered by me today on Amazon, for yourself or someone else, if you email us the receipt to drneha.com and it's stamped today on Amazon, I'm going to actually create a 5-session, 60 minutes each, book club with the author. And I'm going to go through it with you section by section for anybody who buys a copy on Amazon today. And it needs to be the hardcover. You guys, it's so weird. I just have to say, I'm learning all these things about, like, how do you sell your books and how does it matter and what makes it a bestseller and all these things. And I'm glad I didn't read about any of this until like last week. Because it would have been too much. Like, it's too much for me. But I said, you know, I can do that. I can, if we need to sell, you know, it's important to sell books so that people know about it and they think it's a good book and they want to be a part of it. Why don't I get the people I love who've been in this with me for so long? And then why don't I offer something to people who might be skeptical of it and invite them to do it? So there's going to be another book club. I want you to know, Karen, yours was like the on the ground, trying to build the plane as it's starting to fly. We've got an excellent, amazing jet. It's moving, and I'm willing to spend 5 hours answering your questions and having all of us lead this together. You might be wondering, when is it? I have no idea because we just thought of this. But I will try to make it, you know, I'll record it and I'll make it good, and I'll make sure if you can't be there, you'll get the recordings. Is there anything else that my firsts would like to say before you leave? Is there anything you'd like to say to this book baby?
No, just thank you to you, Neha, and thank you for the book. It's very impactful. You know, we'll all be out there revealing, feeling, and healing thanks to you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anybody else? Karen?
Well, I'll just add that I think that the really interesting thing is that it's for the person who's reading it. It's the Powered by Me is not about you, it's about us. And I think that's really an important aspect of this story, is that people I've shared it with have kind of gone like, oh, I get it. And that's really, I think, the most important aspect of this is you're really sharing your story so that we can make that leap. So thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And, you know, one of the things that you have really taught me, you're such a master with words and being able to see patterns. And one of the things you said to me was, Neha, this work, your company, Intuitive Intelligence and Powered by Me, they're bridges. They're bridges from your head to your heart, right? From me to you, from conflict to connection. It's a bridge. It's almost like it's a bridge to things sometimes that you don't even think are connected. And that's where the solution lies. So thank you for teaching me that.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And Deepan, anything you'd like to say parting?
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I haven't read it yet. If it's anything like Talker X, which for me, I read it at the perfect time. It's a very like formative piece of literature for me. I'm really looking forward to it. And I think I have high hopes that it's going to help me in the present as a college student, but also set the foundation for my future as well. So I'm really looking forward to reading this book. And thank you, Neha, for just always being there for me.
You are so welcome. And Deepan, I have to say, you guys, Deepan is like one of the most humble people I know. He is a senior at Stanford in computer science. And if a computer scientist wants to know about their emotional intelligence, the future of our world looks bright. So thank you to all three of you for being first and like godparents to my Powered by Me. So thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neha.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Wow, this is going to be like an emotional experience. You know, when we were setting it all up, we were thinking like, what should we include? And you know, nobody really prepped. We just kind of sent them an email and we said like, hey, would you like to be on for a few minutes to talk about your part in this book and what you got from it? And so is Raj around? Is he ready and on deck
Yeah,
today?
here I
Yeah.
am.
Hi, honey. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm not that far away.
No, you're in the other room, but we can't have the Zoom echo going
Yes,
on.
yes, of
So
course.
um, I just wanted to hear you have really been for the last 4 years, 4+ years of the 7 years I've been writing this. You've been pretty involved in this, and I just want to hear some of your thoughts about Powered by Me. You were in the live book club as well, and you got to hear the times that I got frustrated and wasn't sure I could do it and all of these pieces. And so I thought your perspective for a few minutes would be great.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's been almost 5 years that I've known you, and you've been working on this book since before that, I think. And so I've been up close and personal seeing how much you have put into the book, the blood, sweat, and tears that have gone into it, and various different methods and ways in which you were working on the book, which I tried to help with. I tried to share the way that I write a book, which would be a little bit different. We have such different writing modalities.
Yeah. So you
You
guys,
write in a way.
if you don't know, Raj has written 17 books. He's actually lost count. He doesn't know if it's 15 or 17. I can't wait till I have so many babies. I don't even know how many I have. But you put them out so much quicker than I do. How have you written 17 books? And it took me 7 years to write one.
Well, I think the substance in your one book may exceed many of mine, so that could be the difference. But I think, as I said, the modality of writing is very different. You have a unique way of writing. I know you're going to talk to Andrea later, to share some of your method, but you
Yeah.
do it in a very interactive way,
Yeah.
and you fine tune every word and every sentence, by speaking it out loud, and in a way you create through collaboration as well.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm much more of the old school. We can make a mind map and outline everything, and then go into my room, and sometimes I dictate a first draft onto the computer. Other times I write it, depending on if it's all there in the head, then it's easy to get it out via mind mapping and dictation. But so I tried all those methods with you. I remember we created mind maps, we got you to dictate something, but it didn't quite work with your style. I could see that, but I also see that the book has become richer because of the time that has elapsed. If you had it come out 3 years ago, I don't think it would be the book it is now. I think your experience and the work you've done now, especially with business leaders and the Conscious Business Leadership Academy that you and I have been leading the last 3 years,
Yeah.
that has added a lot of richness and detail in terms of the business side of things. I know you were already working in business, but I think now you've gone that much deeper into that arena and seen it not just from the medical side, which was your personal experience, but increasingly on the business side as well. And as we know, it's a universal challenge, burnout. But I think it's what you've produced is it's an amazing book. It's beautifully written. Every sentence is fine tuned and honed and polished like a gem, and also very, very practical and very
Wow.
useful. The tools are available, and people get it right away. I mean, we were together in Vermont a few days ago, and you could see people in the room immediately starting to think about what they need to change and how they can actually help themselves heal. So, congratulations, well
Thank
deserved
you.
success, and all the reception that this book is going to get. I can't wait to see the impact that you make.
Well, thank you. And Raj, like you've been on the inside of all of this, and I talk about becoming me powered. Tell us one way that the book has helped you become me powered.
Well, I think just being with you and absorbing many of the lessons that you teach through your books and through your coaching and in other ways has helped me connect to my authentic self,
Hmm.
helped me develop that self trust that you talk about, also helped me to heal
Hmm.
many of the things that I wasn't willing to confront, or directly deal with. As Matt said, it's about revealing it, feeling it, and healing it. And all of those things have really made a big difference for me. All of that is also part of my book, which, as people may know, we're doing a joint book tour where we can energize and awaken. So that's the book, Awaken. That's
I'm looking
benefited a lot, I
for
would
the
say.
copy. Let me hold on. There's a copy here. I want to show people because we leave right after this live stream. We actually leave on tour for the Energize and Awaken tour, which we leave for Minneapolis, Minnesota tonight. We're speaking tomorrow there, and then we're heading to Chicago. Next week, we'll be in New Haven, Connecticut. I'll be on the Today Show, and then we'll be heading to DC. So it all starts. So tell us a little bit about Awaken.
So Awaken is a book that started literally around the time that you and I met in 2018, where I was writing the Healing Organization. And I had just experienced this summer. I was just starting to write in October when we met, but I had experienced this 5 months of inner journey and exploring my own need for healing, because 4 women before I met you had told me the same thing. If you're writing a book about healing, you need to work on your own healing. So unfortunately, I listened to them. I took 5 months off. I delayed that book. And I had just come out of all these experiences, going to the Himalayas, where I had my 60th birthday. This is in the Buddhist part of India on the border with Tibet. We're going to a silent retreat in upstate New York called Peace Village, working with a coach for the first time, which I had never done, and that was pretty profound. And going to the Amazon rainforest with the Pachamama Alliance and experiencing 10 days of immersion in nature, as well as some of the shamanic healing that goes on there. And so all of that had really turned up so many insights about my life and about life in general, that I decided I needed to. It wasn't just serving the healing organization, but actually it was something I felt that I needed to write in a separate book. And that somehow turned into a kind of memoir. That wasn't the original idea. The original idea was these 7 steps that I had received in my silent retreat. But then they became more of a memoir. The 7 steps book, I think, is going to be next.
Nice.
That we're going to do.
No, what's next is you and me leaving for the airport to go on tour for Energize and Awaken tour. That's what's next. Can you imagine talking about the next book? Like, I'm not there yet.
Listen, I've become better. I used to do it before the one came out. I was already worried about, oh my God, what do I do next? You know, it was not very healthy. It was a kind of a compulsive drive to do those things. You know, it wasn't coming, I think, from a very healthy place.
Yeah.
But that has changed now. I think it's, you know, one of the insights that I received from one of my editors was, you don't write a book when you think it's time to write a book. You know, you write a book when there's an idea that is so compelling that it needs to be born. It has to come out into the world. And you're the instrument of that. And I think this was an idea for you that was gestating for almost 2 decades.
Yeah.
That your suffering in your own burnout was not in vain, and that actually this is the gift from that. You know, like Gabor Mate talks about the wisdom of trauma. I think there's also the gift of suffering in a way. If you are able to convert it, right, find meaning in that, and then create a gift from it to heal not only yourself but others.
Well, I think that is so true. And Raj, I just have to say thank you for all your support, your love, your care, sitting next to me the moments when I didn't think it was all going to happen. She's actually here. And yeah, I can't believe we get to do this together. Who gets to go on a book tour with their partner who has both like published books in the same year? And I'm really glad that your book now is going to get the attention that it needs from leaders. So the way I would say Raj's book, I'd say it's about reflecting on your own triumphs and tragedies in your life. And he uses his story as a way to help shine light and awareness on universal truths that will likely help you piece together your life and the lessons and how they can lead you to your higher purpose. And so he has questions and he makes it all practical at the end of every chapter. So shout out to your book, baby, as well. And I hope you're packed. All right.
I have not started packing yet. So.
All right. So that's another issue. But thank you so much. Thanks for showing up, and thanks for all your love and support.
Congratulations, Neha.
Awesome. Do we have Amy Murray ready to go? Is Amy here? Amy from Chicago. She's here.
Hi. Hey,
Amy.
Neha.
This is like a love fest. Maybe I'll just never get off because then I can just see all the people I love.
This is awesome.
Well, thank you for coming in from Chicago. Amy, what chapter are you in? You are in.
I'm on page 199.
199. All
Yeah.
right. I love it.
Yeah,
And you know what I love is this is in the section on emotions. And I really want to talk for a moment. You know, you're a physician and you live through the life and death of so many people, and just how we carry that inside us. And then it's all about, you know, profit over people, move through it. Don't worry about it. Keep going. There's another patient in bed 9, right? Yeah. And just the idea of that. Can you just talk for a moment about what Pray's story that opens chapter 15, which is stuck in sadness, depression, or grief? You're the opening story here. And can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so is in a nutshell, the story is about me kind of getting out of myself and my own, oh, woe is me, I'm working so hard, and finding a connection with a patient, finding that one connection. I didn't look like her. I don't have the same social situation as that patient, but she was a mother and I'm a mother. And I was able to connect with that. And in doing so, just kind of being open and aware of some of the other things that were going on. And we realized we had a much stronger connection than we ever knew. I had prayed for her long before I ever knew her, when her first son died on the table from a gunshot wound. And yet I was kind of like, ooh, those are delicate. Ooh, I don't want to talk to her about that. Now I know who she is. And I kind of buried that emotion. And I listened to my 14-year-old who said, Ma, you got to go talk to her. You got to tell her. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And I did. And it's not a heroic story. It's a story of conviction. How many times I did not go that extra mile, or did not try and make that connection with a patient, or did not push aside the fear of having emotion run to the surface, and all those missed opportunities.
Wow. So you guys, I want to give you a little bit of context here. So Amy, you're an anesthesiologist, yes?
Yep.
And you're in Chicago. And this story really is about you meeting a mother who had a young few-month-old baby. And when you come in and you say, like, she doesn't look like me, I'm not like her, maybe I'll give this one to the resident. But then you kind of, something kicks in and you're like, no, I'm a mom. She's a mom. Like, we have more in common than we are different. And in that moment, Amy, what really runs through, and it's one of the reasons I chose to put your story in the book, is in the spiritual energy section, I talk about sacred exchanges and how important, like, a sacred exchange can happen with anyone who you're sitting next to, you know, on a train, on a plane, you know, who you meet and think doesn't look like you. It's almost like the resistance you had in the beginning, which is like, oh, this might come with a lot of emotion and baggage, and I don't want to do this, actually was the thing that gave you purpose, meaning. You've written it up. You use it as an example. It gave you inspiration. It gave you healing. It made you a better doctor. Yeah. And so what if the moments in our lives that we feel resistance, the thing we don't want to go to, the thing we don't have enough time for, what if that's actually the moment for a sacred exchange that could actually be the medicine that we've been waiting for? So her story about Pray at the beginning of chapter 15, it makes me cry every time I read it. And like, I can even feel it in me right now. But really, what I think is so cool about it, and why I hope every doctor, you know, reads this, every nurse, every human, every patient, I think we can understand each other better. And I think it's what makes you not just a doctor or a physician, but a healer.
I am so grateful for the opportunity that you gave me. This is just, it's just one of the greatest opportunities I've been given. And it was so organic and so natural. And it was our sacred exchange that we had that kind of generated the next thing.
Well, it was Amy happened to be one of the physicians when I was trying all this out and I couldn't get the book written. I said, why don't I do what I do well? Connect live and run a live program called Self-Care and Healthcare for physicians. And you were one of the people who signed up for that.
Twice.
You did it twice. I don't know. Well, I just have to say, those moments, the willingness to try with someone you didn't know, the willingness to go deep, and share. I think medicine needs healing. I think we as the healers need healing. And what if it was right in front of us with our patients, but we don't think about we have all these rules, like you have your emotions with patients and you can't really be connected to them because if you care about them, what if they die or what if, you'll burn out? We have all these myths that I think we need to re-examine in our, not just medicine, but in our world, because sacred exchanges are everywhere. And I just wonder if it's just about our willingness to truly see each other, to take a risk, to say yes when we would rather say no in the moment. What would it look like to take a chance? And I think you just trusted yourself when you came in the self-care and healthcare, you shared. Yeah. And so last question for you. Have you gotten a chance to read that chapter?
Yep.
Yeah. And anything you'd add, anything I missed, anything that you'd like to share with people about it?
I'm so excited that my story leads a chapter that has that coming back home diagram. I love that coming back home diagram. And I feel like it's those inward arrows that point us back to home, to coming back to where we need to be. Being authentic, being grateful, service, universal connection. I think those 4 things completely epitomize my story. Those are the 4 things that I find as part of that story.
Well, how about if we give people, if I can find this quickly, which I'm going to try to do, we're going to show them what you're talking about. Okay.
That's the one.
This is called some fast finagling is what this is called. So what she's talking about is in this chapter, I'm going to present here, you guys. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go into a window. And what you're talking about with the home diagram is this. Yep. And you guys can see my whole slide deck, I know. But basically, let me press play. And what Amy's saying is that there's a place inside of us where we're at home in our peaceful heart. And that's the center. And in the emotional energy of this book, the emotional energy section, I talk about that when you leave your peaceful heart, there's a more subtle emotion, maybe a little bit of fear or self-doubt creeps in. If you don't pay attention to it, what happens is it gets bigger and it turns into anxiety. And if you don't pay attention, again, you might get overwhelmed, panicked, terrified, all the way to paralyzed. It's about how loud an emotion needs to get before you're paying attention. So maybe there's a little impatience that progresses to being annoyed, frustrated. Then you're angry. You snap at someone. You didn't even realize it. Enraged, and then hateful and hatred. And so this is how we move away from our peaceful heart, farther and farther, and emotions get more and more intense. And what Amy's talking about is, I then talk about how there's one of the fastest, several of the fastest ways home. And one of them is gratitude. You know, one of them is service. One of them is how do you get back to your peaceful heart? And there's more of them. I wish I could remember them right now. Amy, do you see them? Do you see them? What are
the ones that jump out? Authenticity.
Being authentic, having the conversation, saying the thing that needs to be said that's distancing you from someone.
And then that universal connection.
Oh yeah, that could be prayer. That could be being in service to someone. That could be going out into nature. Like, what are the ways that we can get ourselves back home when we move out? And I'd say also pay attention to how intense the emotions are before you recognize them, because it's telling you how good you are at overriding the early signals. So, oh, I love that, Amy.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
And, yes, and to be connected. And I'm coming to Chicago this week on the Energize and Awaken tour with Raj. So when are we going to see you? Are we going to see you Thursday night or Friday morning? Do you know?
I don't know yet.
Okay, so you keep us posted. And on our website, right, you go to intuitiveintelligenceinc.com. And if you go to tour, it will give you where we're going to be, the dates, where to register. And here's the thing, Amy, you've got my cell phone. So you let me know what you need. And I'd love to bring you as a guest on our tour for your contributions to the book.
This book is such a gift. You're just a light. I'm just so happy to be a part of it. I'm just deeply honored.
All right, let's get this to all of healthcare.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, and let's make sure that everybody's not just a doctor and a physician or a healthcare provider, but that we're all healers.
Yeah, I'm talking to our director for GME and seeing if this is the book we could use for our retreat this year.
I would love that. I would love that. And if I can beam in or be of any service, you just let me know. Thank you, Amy.
Yeah. Mwah.
Yay. Mwah. Appreciate it. So tell me who's up next, Alexis. Is there anybody in waiting? Kathy, Rachel, any of them? So any questions that anybody has? I'd love to answer any of those. If anybody has posted any questions, now would be a great time. And Alexis, I'm assuming that means Kathy and Rachel are coming, but maybe they're not here yet. Yeah. So awesome. I will. So guys, I'm going to start talking about one of the most common questions that I get asked. And why don't we show you a snippet right now of the most common question I get asked in the media. So something you may not know that I'm really excited about is Powered by Me has started to come out in all sorts of articles everywhere. So Popular Science published How Do You Decipher Your Own Body's Unique Language? Reader's Digest published a quiz. Now you guys already got my version of the quiz, which is the Burnout-RX. If we can put that up, that's your way of doing a self-assessment for yourself to figure out where you are from burned out to fully charged at work and in life. And you do that by figuring out whether you're having a net gain or a net drain of energy on a physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual level. And so this, what's on the screen right now, Burnout-RX, this intuitiveintelligenceinc.com/Burnout-RX. You put your name and email, it's free. You get the interactive form that is the assessment. And I want you to not just use your mind to answer whether you're having a net energy gain or drain. I want you to also use your body, because your mind sometimes says, oh yeah, I'm fine. Oh yeah, keep going. Oh, we have to do this, right? But your body never lies. Your body keeps score. And so while you're answering the questions on the intake, the pulse survey, pay attention to whether your body is contracted, heavy, constricted. That would be a drain. or whether your body is relaxed, your muscles are, relaxed, and you're feeling light and at ease. So this is videos of me walking you through an assessment for burnout. So I hope you all get a chance to get that. And then I was talking about the most common question I get asked in the media. So this week, Powered by Me and excerpts from it are going to be published in Fortune, Fast Company, Forbes Women. They've already been published in Inc., Popular Science, all sorts of fun places. So just look around and see where this is. And while I've been talking to the media, they've been asking me questions. And here's a really common one that I get asked. Can you tell me the difference between burnout and depression? And so if you're familiar with Powered by Me, at the top, you can see that I have 2 forewords. My forewords are by 2 of my mentors, colleagues, and friends, Jim Gordon and Mark Hyman. And Jim Gordon wasn't able to be here today. And so he said, well, Neha, why don't we just record a discussion? And so we did that on Friday. And I'd like to give you a 5-minute clip of Jim and I discussing what's the difference. Now, Jim is this Harvard-trained psychiatrist who wrote a book called Unstuck, The 7 Steps Out of Depression, and really without medication. He's kind of a pioneering thought leader. And he also wrote Transforming Trauma. So I thought, what better person for me to have this discussion about the difference between burnout, the book I wrote, and depression, the book he wrote. So we're going to let that roll. I hope you enjoy this exchange between Jim and I. Let's talk about probably the most burning question that I get asked at all of the talks and experiences in media that I've been on. Everyone wants to know, tell me the difference between burnout and depression. And I'd love us to talk about, once we talk about that, really kind of delineate what's similar about them and what's different.
I think it's a good question and a good area to explore. Burnout has to do with a process that has gone on over time, and a process in which the disharmony between the individual and the situation in which that person is working, and living, takes a toll on the person. And part of that toll may be that they get depressed, but there are many other aspects to it. That is, that their mood gets low. They feel overwhelmed and exhausted. That's part of depression. But also with burnout, there's a sense of, often a sense, as I mentioned earlier, this kind of cynicism and this, nothing. It's not like I can't do anything. It's more like there's nothing worth doing. It's more of an attitude. It's more of a kind of sharp, defensive, creating a sharp defensive wall, as opposed to sinking down behind the barrier, which depression is. It's just like, oh, I can't manage it. I can't get out of bed. It's more of a closing off. But, there are a lot of similarities. But of course, depression can come without burnout. I mean, there are people, if you're children who are neglected, for example, early on, this early research in the 1930s, Renee Spitz, and research on hospitalisms, that those kids who were perfectly well fed and they were clean, but they didn't have that human contact. They didn't have caregivers who loved them. Those kids would get sick. They'd look terribly depressed, and many of them would die. And it was because of that lack of support, that lack of emotional support. So one of the ways that we see depression, and one of the reasons we become depressed as adults, is because we haven't had that kind of nurturing early on in life. So when disappointments come, we kind of fall into this state of, I can't do anything. Hopeless and helpless is the characteristic of depression.
So really it's about,
I can't do anything about it. And I don't hope, and I don't believe that anything will change. But it's a kind of subdued, it's kind of like sinking into a swamp, whereas burnout is much more of a kind of flailing around and a self-protectiveness and although there are common elements, but if those two pictures come to me, I see the person's sinking into the mud and I've been depressed and I wrote Unstuck. Part of my experience was that I went through a period of loss. Loss is the primary cause of depression. And that, for me, it was loss of my direction. It was in medical school, but I wasn't sure where I was going. I lost a significant relationship with my girlfriend that I thought was going to continue. So in that loss, I sank into this feeling of not, I don't know who I am. I don't know what to do. I don't know if it's ever going to get any better. Whereas burnout is more for people who have committed themselves to something and then it's grinding on them. It's wearing them down, and they're trying to protect themselves from it. So there's more energy in burnout, but it's not a productive energy. It's an energy of self-protection. It's an energy of cynicism, an energy of I don't think I can do it because it's too overwhelming and the situation's terrible and it's not going to change. Whereas depression, it's more, I miss what I don't have anymore. I don't know if I'm ever going to be fulfilled. And depression can come at any time. Burnout takes time. It takes time for us to burn out, because burnout implies that at some point you were on fire. That is, you were more or less in harmony with what you were doing, and you were excited about doing it, and then it gets to you. And we see this. I know you've worked a lot with executives. I've worked, primarily in health settings, but I've also worked with a number of people in the U.S. Congress, and I can say there's a fair amount of burnout there.
So, Jim, so much wisdom. And really what I took away from that, because sometimes it can be confusing. I'd like to bring on Kathy Trost. She's a nurse. She's one of my best friends. She is waiting. She's coming in from, are you in Southern California right now? Are you up in Shasta?
I'm in Laguna.
You're in Laguna. Well, thank you, Kathy. Thank you for being with us. TalkRx is dedicated to Kathy Trost because she's a nurse. She's a dear friend. We worked together many years ago. We have supported each other along the way. She was the reason that this book ever came out, I have to tell you. She would work all week, and then every Saturday, after I had been working on the book all week, she would come and help me integrate on Saturdays. We do our healing sessions in the morning, some reflexology and energy healing. And then we would work all day on integrating the book. And I think that went on for a couple of years. So thank you for that.
Yes, it was a great learning. It was really a gift to me.
What about that day when we were supposed to talk about anger? Yes. Kathy came in one day and we were writing the chapter. I think it's chapter 14. It's called the volcano, exploding, something about the volcano within. And we're supposed to be writing it. And Kathy's like, she's like doing this thing. And I'm like, Kathy, what's wrong? And she's like, it's nothing. Let's just keep going. And I was like, Kathy, is everything okay? And you're like, well, I'm just really angry and I don't know why it feels like this. And I remember saying, like, maybe we should stop writing the book and the chapter on anger, and maybe we should focus on you and make sure you're okay. And that's what we did, and it got resolved pretty easily. So
yeah, it was yes, live. It was, demonstrating for you.
Right.
And how the book should be written. Yes.
Yeah, and our own learning, because writing a book is really about, I believe that the depth at which we heal ourselves through the process is the trajectory of level of impact it's going to be able to have in the world. And I feel like that day was one of those days where we got to heal. We got to experience something within us that then made the book even more rich.
Yes, it's one of those moments when you think that you're writing or you're doing something for somebody else, and really you're the one learning, you're the one healing. The gift is you. It's a mirror. And so there were all kinds of those experiences as we went through the book. It was really a very self-healing and awakening experience.
Well, listen, I want us to talk a little bit about the clip that was just played with Jim Gordon. the difference between depression and burnout. And actually, you know what we're going to do? I think what we're going to do is let's take Fridays, my tech team's on. We haven't done this yet, but we can do it. Let's take the full 50 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes of that discussion with Jim Gordon. And let's add that to the book bonuses, the book bonus page, so that people can watch the entire 50 minutes, not just have a clip of that. So when you buy the book, whenever you buy the book, if you already have it or otherwise, we'll tell you where you get book bonuses, right? And just input the information there, and we're going to put the whole 50 minutes, the dialogue with Jim and I there. So Kathy, Jim basically said, right, that what I would start with is context is everything. Mm-hmm. So if you're trying to figure out whether someone you love or lead or yourself is depressed or burned out, burnout itself is a triad of exhaustion, physical, mental, emotional exhaustion, cynicism and depersonalization, where you start having this feeling like, oh, it doesn't matter how hard I work or what I do, it's not going to make a difference. And then you start distancing yourself from other people because you're trying to conserve your energy. And then ultimately you hit the wall of ineffectiveness.
Yes.
And there's phases, right, that burnout goes through over time, right? The alarm phase where it's kind of like getting cut off in traffic or jumping on a treadmill that's going too fast, where your adrenaline kicks in, your blood pressure goes up, your heart is racing, you're irritable, all of that. But if you stay there, which both of us know very well, and it becomes your life on that treadmill, and the speed keeps going up and up and up. Kathy, you ran $100 million emergency department for several years. Tell us a little bit about what that was like, and whether you were in the alarm phase, the chronic adaptation phase where you're just hanging on, or if you ever really made it to the exhaustion phase, the third one, where you hit ineffectiveness.
Well, it was one of those things that Jim Gordon just explained, where at first I was extremely excited to be running that department. I was
take on the challenge.
Yeah, I wanted to introduce them to your work and build a really high functioning team, because it's much needed in an emergency setting. And so I was full of energy. It is a physical challenge. It is a mental and emotional challenge. And there are live people to consider in the situation. And so I think bringing the work in, there were certainly rewards in watching people grow and the ahas and working with that team and, hitting some of our targets. And ultimately, I would say, just because it's a 24/7 and, in a hospital setting, there's a lot of factors that play into different components of it. And when
it's always an emergency.
Yeah. So when I found myself getting frustrated, I guess, or maybe out of alignment with the new goals or targets, I started feeling like I'm coming up against a wall. And that's when the burnout started for me. When, as Jim Gordon just said as well, right? When first you're aligned and you're excited about it, and then something's happening.
Yeah.
Well, healthcare's a lot of work and a lot of turnover. And so it can be wearing. And so I think I did hit a burnout, bit of exhaustion, certainly.
So what's interesting about depression, really the way that he spoke about depression, is that it's more of a feeling of loss and like there's nothing worth fighting for. And that there's almost a quicksand, like there's like this sinking feeling, right? Which is different than being on fire, the fire of burnout that then sometimes can have depression associated with it. You may hit that wall, hit that place of depression, but to be depressed does not necessarily mean you're burned out, right? And to be burned out doesn't mean you're necessarily depressed, but it can include depression. sometimes.
Absolutely.
You know,
It's certainly a phase of it, because as you're striving to be successful, if you're, whether it's work or personal, when you're striving to be successful and you feel like you're not hitting your targets, it's easy to get a little bit depressed about it. It was
Yeah.
for me. And when I think about that home diagram that's in your book, even though I've done a lot of the work in the middle of stress, or when I became out of alignment and I took my eye off the ball and
Yeah.
I wasn't living that authentic life, that you can go into a burnout or you can go into a depression, and then
Yeah.
you need to use the tools to get back on track and get back in alignment and start thriving again.
Yeah. And I think, you know, primarily what I'd say is I love that distinction that there's the excitement about something that you're interested in creating.
Yes.
You start working towards that. There's underlying patterns of how you work and how much you push through your body rather than partner with it. And it's patterns over time that lead to burnout. Whereas depression can be like there can be multiple traumas, losses, something can happen, and a breakup, a lost job opportunity, you know, just a loss of an opportunity, a disappointment, whatever it is. And if that feeling of feeling lost and not knowing how to recover comes in, depression can be the path you go down. A really interesting question that I think we'll save for another day, but it's really about Jim Gordon's work on transforming trauma and Gabor Mate's work about trauma. And what I'd say to the people listening is trauma plays a big role in both burnout and coping mechanisms, as well as depression. And the best resource I would say if you want to learn about trauma, our Transforming Trauma book by Jim Gordon, Gabor Mate's The Wisdom of Trauma movie that you can download. I think it's incredible. I think everyone should watch that, because after the pandemic, there's no one who hasn't had some version of trauma here. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we understand it, the easier time we're going to have, and the less surprising these experiences of burnout and depression. We'll be able to catch them much quicker. Kathy, I just want to say you've gone from being a nurse, one of the most respected ones. Actually, as a physician, I love leading, teams, leadership teams, and organizations, teaching communication with you, learning from you. Now you've also become an energy healer. You are one of my trusted team members that I bring on. And I really look forward to how we are going to use the work of these books to help bridge the world into this energy space. And that it's not just about the physical world, it's about our physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual or energetic ways of being. And you're one of the people that I rely on to keep my energy clear and take care of me. So I can't wait to introduce the world to you, as well as we start to create all these corporate wellness programs together and begin working together in a more formal way.
Yeah, it's really exciting to move from the healthcare traditional medicine into something that's a little bit different, but really so aligned. And it's so exciting that people are ready for it now and can experience and are sensitive to it. And so I really look forward to collaborating, because it really blends so wonderfully with your book and the emotional component and what energy we bring behind our situation, how healing it can be, and what's available to us. So I look forward to all of our future work together and to blending it as it goes so well with your book on burnout.
Well, listen, I think of you as one of the godparents, okay? Because I'm not doing physical babies in this lifetime. So you are Powered by Me's godparent. And thank you for all your help with the book and reading it with me and kind of helping me iron out things that didn't feel quite clear. I couldn't have done it without you. So thank you, my friend.
My pleasure.
All right. So Kathy Trost, thank you for all that you have done to make this possible. So I bet you guys who are not in healthcare are like, oh, is this what the healthcare team behind the scenes talks about? Energy and powered by me and, all the trauma and all this stuff. Yeah, it is what we're busy talking about. So, I want to know if my family actually, if they are ready and on deck, because if they are, I'd love to bring them on the screen and talk to them. Hi, Taji. I thought I just needed to feature the people in the book. Yay, Taj, my nephew. This is my sister, Sarka, and my dad, Karma, who's not feeling so well, but came to Boston to be with us for the launch. So, Dad, it's okay. You can talk if you feel like it. You are in the book, Taj. Do you know this? In the book, Powered by Me, you're in chapter 16. You know why? Because you're in the Jumpstarting Joy chapter.
Neha, what page is it? I'll show him his name again. I can't remember.
Yeah, let's show him his name. So, chapter 16. Okay, is.
Hi, Nana.
Hi, Beta.
Hi.
What did he say?
On page 221, okay, is Jumpstarting Joy.
Hi, baby.
Yes.
Hi, Nana.
So, Thad, you know what I'm talking about you? I'm going to read you. I'm going to read you the paragraph on you. Okay? So this is your aunt.
Hi, Nana.
Dad, I'm going to ask if you.
Hi, Beta.
Can you mute yourself right now for me?
Yeah.
It's like an echo happening.
Yeah.
Just mute. Perfect. Thank you. And so what I want to do, just like I would read you a bedtime story, okay, Thaj? On page 224, there's a paragraph about your sister, Simran, and you.
What does this say?
We're going to read.
What does that say?
Read that together. So I said, my niece Simran, who's now a teenager, has a natural wit. And for all of you listening, this is about, in the emotions section, what gives you energy and what drains you of energy. And Thaj gives me energy. And he does that. And my niece, too, who's at soccer practice today, even though she's in the book, she can't be here. My niece Simran, who's now a teenager, has a natural wit. Last summer, the family was enjoying the Buffalo Zoo, and she was walking ahead of us. And she went right by the bald eagle exhibit. And very casually, she just turned around and pointed to all of us. And she said, hey, guys, don't miss the American symbol of freedom in captivity. And she just kept walking. Her delivery was impeccable, and we couldn't stop laughing. So my nephew, Thaj, is another one who makes me giggle. From the age of 2, while he was still in diapers, he could swing a golf club, hitting the ball 40 to 60 yards straight. By 4 years old, he had participated in his first parent-child golf tournament and placed 6th out of 15 parent-child teams. But the funniest part is the reason he placed 6th and not much higher is because his emotional development wasn't quite up to par with his physical abilities. Once the ball was on the green, he was so worried that the game might be over once he put it in the hole that he would hit it back onto the fairway or into the sand trap rather than risk putting it into the hole. Our nickname for my golf watching, YouTube obsessed nephew is Thodger Woods. So I'd like to introduce to everybody Thodger Woods.
No, I'm not that name. Don't read that. That's not funny.
What's your name?
Okay. Well, why don't you tell me? Do you like golf? Do you like golfing? Tell everybody. Yeah. Do you have your own gloves that you use when you golf? Yeah. What's your favorite thing about golfing? Tell us. Is it
Looking outside? Do you like going with Nana and Daddy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you get time with your dad and your grandpa, who's on the call right now. You get quality time with Nana. Awesome. Well, Sarka, you were featured in Talk RX in the chapter where I talked about anxiety. Mom is the one who's in power. Oh, there we go. Empowered by me. But just curious if there's anything in, the behind the scenes that you'd like to share about becoming me powered, about being a sister of someone who, spends this much time and energy writing books. If there's anything you want to share with people that would give them some insight to this process and you being in it.
Well, I would say that I'm super proud of you. I feel like it's always great to be in the company of people who are doing their life's work and finding ways to contribute to humanity in whatever way makes sense to them. So I'm super proud of you. I'd say I'm probably about a third or two, maybe 40% through the book. I've already bought, I don't know, I would say 30 copies at least. Got them for my team, for my leaders, to all my best friends.
Sarka works at Pinterest. Sarka, tell them a little bit about what you do.
So I work in business marketing at Pinterest, and so I work in business marketing, and I've got like just a wonderful team of marketers that work on my team. And so we talk a lot about, like, just in our team meetings, not just about like the work that we do, but not just what the work is, but how we do it. And so much of what I think it takes to build world-class marketing programs, career-defining work, comes from not just the work you do, but the way you feel while you do it. So we talk a lot about that in my own team meetings. And
didn't you say that one of your initiatives this year as a company is wellness? What is it?
I can't, hold on, give me 1 second. Let me finish the name, Ozzy. Well, what I'd say is, like, as a company, Pinterest's like overall mission is around well-being. So when we think about like philanthropic causes, ways that we like make our investments, both from a philanthropic standpoint and also like decisions on how we build our product, it's driven with mental wellness at the core. Yeah, honey.
This is me. This is Daddy. This is Mama.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And so mental wellness is just so in that regard, I think a lot of your work and a lot of your books are really resonate with what our company stands for and the type of like environment we're trying to build and type of product we're trying to put out in the world. So I'm really like excited to have shared this book with a lot of the executives in our C-suite, to my team, and to many others.
Oh, it looks like Mom is going on. All right, so what I'm going to do is go to Dad right now, and you guys. Nani, you have.
Hi, baby.
So we got the whole family. Mom is in Tampa. Dad is right here in the other room. And Sarka is just outside New York. Sarka and Thad. So I'm going to put mute on and off, Dad, because you're in the other room and we're echoing a little bit. But I want you to unmute. And I'd love to hear what your experience of reading the book with me. My dad read the book cover to cover with me twice. And this goes to what Raj was saying earlier, where he was saying him and I have such different styles of writing. My intuition and creativity come through the book when I can make it interactive and read it out loud. So I want to hear a little bit from you, Dad, about what that process was like, maybe some things you learned about yourself. Anything you'd like to share.
First of all, it was a great pleasure to work with you, Neha Beta, and go through the book. I was able to, it was such a good read and such easy flow that even a guy like me who barely reads anything enjoyed it. And second time around, it even made more sense when you look at the issues, not only from a physical and mental point of view, but you add spirituality and social aspects that needless to say, I was mesmerized by your writing. and I'm looking forward to keeping it as a part of my life. So,
Well, thank you, Dad, because I
yeah,
can't tell you how much you helped me. And you know, one of the things that touched me the most about doing this with you was how much closer we came through the process. And that when we started to do it through the second time, how you didn't just want to read over all the questions and the interactive experience, you wanted to actually answer the questions with me. So that really touched me. So thank you, Dad.
you're welcome, Beta. I'm sorry I'm not feeling well,
Yeah.
but uh, but I'm here. I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
glad you're with me in Boston, and just feel free to just relax and, sleep or enjoy whatever you need to. You do what feels good. Go ahead and mute, Dad.
ठीक है बेटा.
Thank you so much. Love you.
Love you too, बेटा.
All right. Hi, Mom. So the world gets to meet you. You're one of the people in the book that I talk about. And I talk about in the section on anxiety. And, there was a story that didn't make it in the book, which was when you were a little girl and you were so excited to iron your overalls that when your mom told you you had to go to dinner and have dinner, you kind of snuck back up there and, found that you had left the iron down on the overalls and burned a hole through your brand new overalls. And you were so anxious that you couldn't tell her, right? You were so afraid of your mom. But that story didn't make it in. But what did make it in was me really, as growing up, understanding that you had a lot of anxiety around us flying on the same plane, us driving in the same cars. You had this underlying anxiety that was your love and care for us that manifested in ways that I didn't really understand growing up. And so I just want to say thank you for sharing your personal stories. Thank you for, in that anxiety and fear, being willing to talk about it and being willing to share your learnings in a way so that hopefully it can inspire other people. So I just want to ask you, you were in the live book club with me. Any experiences you had on TalkRx, any ahas that you have, if there's anything you'd like to share. No, my mom's hilarious. She's like, don't put me on the spot. I don't know what I'll say. So, this is something that's really interesting too. I'm very comfortable when I'm much more organic and fluid. And I basically knew who was coming on today, but I had no idea what we were going to talk about. And I realized that Raj, my mom, they like to be more scripted. Even Sarka was like, do I need to prepare for tomorrow? I was like, no, just show up with your full self and we'll figure out what we want to talk about, what questions people are asking. So let me see if there's some questions in the chat. Hi, Usha Masi. Usha Masi is beaming in from India and she's seeing everybody saying, good to see the family together. So I want to see if there's any questions. I see something from Donna that might be, do we send you the awareness prescription for burnout? Or how do we evaluate and how do we fix the dorsal vagal shutdown that won't go away? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer Donna's question, which is, when you are stressed, so this is anxiety is a good example, when your body is talking, and let's say you go to the doctors and you say, oh, I'm having this nausea, I'm having this chest discomfort, and doctors run tests on you. If you're having chest discomfort, they'll run an EKG, take blood work, see if you're having, a heart attack, right? They'll rule out the big bad stuff. Now, what they come out and say is, oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Looks like everything's okay. You're fine. Except the problem is you don't feel fine. And if that's the case, that you get a clean bill of health, but you're still feeling nauseous, you're still having headaches, you're still not feeling well, you're still having this chest tightness, here's what I wish doctors would say to you. I wish they would say, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is your chest discomfort, your heart, it's pumping physically well, the electrical rhythm, everything physically with your heart is okay. Here's the bad news. There's probably something going on a mental, emotional, social, and spiritual level that is not being addressed. And so it's showing up in your physical body to get your attention. Now, that's what I wish doctors would say. And then I wish they would ask them a series of questions to help people get to the bottom of why they're having these symptoms. Their body's talking. The question is, are they listening? And so what I'd like to do, Alexis and team, is I'd like to give the people who are watching right now access to the awareness prescription, not the burnout awareness prescription. We've already given that. I'd like to also give them the intuitiveintelligenceinc.com/awareness-RX. So let's put that up, and I'll tell them what the 5 questions are that I used to ask my patients when they had physical symptoms, but their doctor told them everything's fine. Question number 1, why this? So why nausea? Why a headache? Why a heart attack? Why is this part of your body breaking down? What's the significance? Why not your liver or your left leg? Why are you having this symptom? No, question number 2, why now? Why not 3 years ago? Why not 2 weeks from now? What message did your body, heart, spirit, soul need you to get in this moment that you weren't getting? What's the message? So that's question 2. Question 3 is, since hindsight's 2020, what signals, symptoms, patterns, clues that you might have missed along the way make perfect sense now, so that you can recognize it the next time around and pick it up earlier? And question number 4, what else in your life needs to be healed? And question number 5, if you spoke from the heart, what would you say to me? So these are the questions I used to ask my patients before I discharged them. So once they were physically stable in the hospital, I would ask them these questions. And if they journaled about these questions overnight and the nurse paged me the next morning and told me they did it, I would come and I would spend an extra 20 minutes helping them get to the root of their stress, because stress causes or exacerbates more than 80% of all illness. And so the real question you want to ask yourself is, once you get through the crisis, you want to ask yourself, what's at the root of my stress? Because that's what's making me sick. So thank you, family. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me in Talk RX. I talk about when Dad was younger and he had a temper, how it resulted in Mom's migraines, and Mom figured out how that once she realized she wasn't speaking up and using her voice, and my dad's temper was the way that he tried to let people know that he wasn't happy with something, because that's what his parents showed him. When they realized that my mom clammed down and my dad, spoke up, that was manifesting as headaches for her. As soon as she figured that out, she was like, no more migraines, no more headaches. So really, really great to understand when something physical has a physical origin. It's a tumor, it's a malfunctioning of the physical body. And really important to know when something on a mental, emotional, social, or spiritual level is not being addressed and it's showing up physically in your body to get your attention. So Sarika, can't thank you enough for giving me real nieces and nephews. My contribution to this family are grand book babies, and for your children, Sarika, they have cousin book babies. Now one that's 7 years old and one that's brand spanking new. So thank you for that. And Mom and Dad, I know you wish you could have more grandchildren. my way of giving them to you in the world is book babies. So I should probably tell everybody, there was a time when my first book baby came out that I wrapped it in a baby blanket and handed it to my parents as their first grand book baby. Let's just say they were not amused. So coming from an Indian family, there's a few things you want to get right. You want to become an engineer, a doctor, a computer scientist, some combination of that. And you want to get married, but preferably before you're 30, and crank out some babies. So thank you, Sarika, for doing that in our family. And I'm doing the engineering and the medicine piece. And to be fair to mom and dad, I think we've all learned over the years that we all contribute something different, and we all have life lessons that we're learning together as a family. And now I think they're pretty happy, and I think we all enjoy all versions of what we're creating and contributing. So thank you. Bye, guys. Bye-bye. All right. It's time for our next guest, and that would be Andrea Vinley Jewell. I'd love to have, hi, Andrea.
Thank you. There.
Hey, so thank you so much for joining.
Of course.
To introduce you. Andrea, you're in Colorado right now, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Awesome. So Andrea is my editor, and she has been with me since we wrote TalkRx. And that was the time that we did the whole experiential talk it out, talk through every line, kind of you asked me questions and I would answer, and we'd both be typing on, I think it was Google Meet back then.
Yeah.
Google Plus or something that's not even here. We didn't even have like Zoom and Google Docs. And then you and I transitioned in 2018. You said to me, hey, Neha, it doesn't work for me to work like this. Like my work style is a lot more like a thinker. And there's the doer, thinker, seer, feeler in chapter 18, where you learn about different work styles. And Andrea basically said to me, listen, I've been doing this with you, but it's a little painful for me to do it this way. So we got to like change the way we're working. And I have to say, it was kind of hard for me in the beginning. Like, I didn't know how I would do it without you and how I would, make it all happen. Everybody met Deepan earlier at the beginning of the top of our book launch. And so I started finding other people who liked processing out loud. And so I wanted your perspective, any ahas you have, or any learnings from Powered by Me that you might want to share. And it can be about us working together. It can be about the book itself, anything you want to share.
Yeah. Well, I would have to say I knew this book needed to be written or videoed or something long before Neha knew it was supposed to be a book or needed to be a book. And even remember we worked on all those videos and trying to create like a curriculum out of all those interviews that you had done with all these different experts. And when I was saying, great, do a video book, like just turn it into videos. But you finally came around to the idea of doing a book. And I just knew this topic was so important. And then of course, COVID happens, and you and I both work with a lot of physicians and people in the health profession. And we just knew, okay, this has to be addressed. And it's just, burnout is getting worse. And the people who are doing so much good they're just not going to last if they don't have some resources and some insight on how to get out of this state. And so you finally did come around to the point of realizing, okay, I'll do a book. And you found a couple of people who would work with you in that out loud live way. And then you just dump it to me, and I could do the thing that I do where I just shut everything out. My brain does all the work, and I, put everything together. And I remember reading that first draft after you finished all your live writing and thinking, this is such a holistic approach. And if you go and read about burnout, there are certain things that you'll read or listen to, and the insight and advice is kind of the same across the board, but this just went so much deeper. And got people to think and face issues that they probably would never realize are tied to burning out. So I was impressed. I thought you've gone way beyond writing 101 by this point. You know, and even some of the things I would say, oh, she did this transition and she hates transitions. She hates writing transitions, right?
Yeah.
And,
no, it's true. You know, Lynn was just asking a question about a unique way of, like, she says you have a unique way of explaining complete topics in an easily digested way. Did that help with how you framed out writing your book?
Right.
And I think all the tools that come pretty naturally to me and the ability to kind of in a verbal way, if you ask me questions, my ability to talk it out and just come up with a framework or a simple way that it comes together is something that really framed the book. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Yeah. It was interesting because it would just take maybe one question, maybe two or three, and then you get going and you know exactly what needs to be said, you know exactly what the answer is, and as you're talking, the framework is there. And
That's right.
So it's very interesting because you can say it out loud. I can do it in my head and on paper or on the screen. So it's always been a really complimentary work relationship that we've had.
Yeah. And
you didn't burn out writing this book.
You're right.
Compared to the first one, right?
Oh my gosh. Yes, that was something else. TalkRx, you know what it was? It was, Andrea, it was the idea that I couldn't say, well, what I mean is, and like what I like when I'm talking, I can be me, and if it doesn't sound quite right, I can reshape it. Mm-hmm. And the idea that something had to be written so well that it was going to happen without me being there. And once we put it down, there was like a finality to it. Like, that's the best way that someone should be able to digest this. It felt so, I think my perfectionism kicked in, and it just felt like, oh my God, that's so concrete. Right. You know, and I'll say that the struggle I had with TalkRx was I didn't understand how to write a book. I didn't know that I was good at writing stories and good at framing things and that I needed to talk it out loud, but I wasn't so great at transitions. Yeah. Like, you taught me all of that. And as we did it, the first round, you know, I know you said I taught you about communication and emotions and all of that. What I'd say is editing 101, like, I got on the fly with you. And I think I got more than 101. I think I probably got to a master's with you.
Yes, I think so.
And then I'd say, you know, the book actually started as Power Handbook for Women.
Right.
That started in 2016.
Yes.
It was the Power Handbook for Women, and we started writing it. And I remember in 2018, you just stopping me one day and saying, if you want to write a leadership book, you know, for leaders or for women, the first thing you got to do is write a book on burnout so that they can understand their own self-care. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, like, no, what are you saying? It's almost like when you used to take out chunks of things and it used to pain me. And then we worked out a way where you now say, I took out the last half of chapter 7, and I think it could be a really good blog. I think it could be a really good article. I think it might go in your next book. And then we realized if you just tell me where it might go, and then it's not going to be cut out and like lost in space, that I am much more calm about receiving that feedback.
Yeah.
And what was the other question that we just missed on the screen?
Well, I was going to say, it would be interesting to talk a little bit about your writing process, because it is not a typical author writing process in terms of people who want to write books or love writing. You write or create very differently.
So I only know the way that I do it. Tell me how people typically write and create.
Well, typically people have an idea and then they sit down and either just start, you know, like stream of consciousness, writing the ideas and the stories and getting it all down on paper, or they'll sit down and work on an outline and all the topics they might want to cover, and then sort of map out how they could connect to a main topic, you do some of that mapping, but you usually do it later. And most people just sit down and write in silence in their own office without other people. Maybe they have music, maybe they don't, maybe they go to a coffee shop, but they get in the zone and they just a very internal process, and you do it out loud and have ideas and articulate and process and create as you're talking.
Yeah, and we would schedule like blocks of time that we would do it. And really what you did was I'm not as great with structure. And so you would hold the structure of the entire project. In the virtual world, you would organize it in all the folders and everything. And then you would say, Neha, today we're going to work on, the physical section. And specifically, let's go back to food, because I have 3 questions that I'd like to ask you. And then we can move on to energy,
Right.
And so you held this because in the work styles, which is in chapter 17 of Powered by Me, you'll learn about doer, thinker, seer, feeler. Andrea is like a doer thinker, and I'm a seer feeler. And so what that means is Andrea wants to get things done and do them efficiently. She wants to do it once and she wants to do it right. And she's like critical thinking, putting it all together. I'm the seer who I'm like, oh, I can see that pattern. I can process this. We can turn it into a framework. Like, how can we create something new? And I like to connect with you. And my creativity comes through my connection with another.
Yes.
And so that process is really kind of unique, I'm learning. That's not how people do it, but that's how creativity comes for me.
Right.
Raj, who's written 17 books, was on earlier. He literally goes into a room and he uses Mind Manager to mind map everything out. He literally goes into a room. He'll interview people and dictate their thoughts. Then he'll go in a room in 45 or 90-minute blocks and just emerge going, okay, I wrote chapter 3. And I'm like, what?
Yes.
Like,
right.
What? Like, who does that?
But it's interesting because I think sharing that is just it because it's a different way of writing, because you are writing. I mean, you're saying it out loud, but you're typing and capturing it, or I'm typing it, or we're recording it and then we're putting it together. It just goes to show that creation of a written story, written guidance can come in a number of ways. It doesn't have to be a set process.
Yeah. Well, I find too that stories where I'm connected to other people, they flow very easily for me. Stories, because that's the feeler in me where I remember things when they move me, right? When they connect to my heart. And so what would you say to someone if they're listening and they're thinking about writing a book? You've had tons of experience in all of this. What would you tell them is the most important, a few things that you look for in a book that will make a big impact, that will really, something you look for in what you consider a well-written or good book?
Sure. I guess I'd say that, the big things are a very clear idea that idea has a niche. There is a niche for it, so you could take the topic of burnout, and a dozen different people could write on burnout in a different way. And so what is your way? And yours, of course, is coming at it from this medical perspective of health and wellness, but also then of having your own burnout. So it was an interesting combination. The other thing I would say is that the target audience is really clear in the manuscript. Like, someone would sit down and read it and know this is for professionals who are in midlife and they've done well in their career, or this is for women with children at home. Knowing your audience is really important, because if you don't know who you're writing to, you're just writing for yourself. And you can write for yourself. It's a good practice. But if you want something to go out into the world and help people or inspire people, you really have to know who you're writing it for.
I love that. I love that, Andrea. Well, is there anything else you want to say to people about Powered by Me, or about any of this?
I would just say that there's so much good information in Powered by Me that you could use it in any situation that you are spending too much time and energy on, and you're not sure how to pull back and regroup or create new boundaries. Because not always just work. For me personally, caregiving is a big thing in my life right now. And sometimes I have to step back and take a break. And there are things in the Powered by Me that I've been able to use just to figure out, I need this for myself so I don't burn out in caregiving, So the application is pretty broad.
Yeah. And then I'd also say, if there's something you're avoiding in your life, so conflict or having a certain discussion or your relationship to money or whatever it is, like if there's something you're avoiding, to really kind of go there as well and use Powered by Me because if you're avoiding it or you're doing too much of it, there's a drain of energy because it takes energy to do that. Right. So, Andrea, you're such a joy to be with. And I'm so glad we've been on this journey. My God, I think since 2012 or 13.
Yes, right.
It's been almost more than 10 years now.
I know.
So I look forward to many amazing books that we work on together.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
You're going to be another godparent. You're going to be another godparent to my book, baby.
Right. Right.
Awesome, because there are no rules. It can have as many godparents as it needs. It needs a village. So thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Bye.
Yeah, appreciate you. All right. Well, listen, guys, jam-packed. I think I should do this like quarterly so I get to see all the people I love and get to hang out with, including all of you. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your comments. And I just want to bring on our next guest, which is Dr. Param Dadia. And he is, hey, Param. And I think you are the expert, the sleep expert, chapter 7, for those of you that have TalkRx, are thinking about getting it. I have a section on page 86, and it is literally called Calling in the Expert. And that is the man in front of you. So Param, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. There's lots of things I could say about, you being a sleep and obesity expert and, working at Hopkins. And I thought I was a good Indian child, but you've definitely gotten me beat. So tell the audience a bit about you, and then let's talk sleep.
Fabulous. Neha, great to see you again. Cheers to everyone that's able to connect with Neha and the work that's being shared and truly being embraced. Neha, this is more important than any name, but just simply because we all have a bias. As you mentioned, formerly in academia, great time in Baltimore. The 10 years there, having an opportunity to do what we've been trained as allopathic MD physicians. And that world is a sick or not sick. And that's really special at those times and those places. Some people may come to this conversation you have Powered by Me through crisis, but at some point it does lead toward going beyond not sick and helping people live the life they want. So after 10 years in Baltimore and an amazing set of mentors and experiences, I had a great opportunity to go into more of an executive health, wellness, a conversation, integrative medicine practice, an amazing 12 years there. The last couple of years doing more of an executive health practice and truly getting an opportunity to meet people similar to how you meet them. Whatever brings them to the door, we meet them where they are. We help them live the life they want. And whether that's sleep or any of the topics you cover, all come together.
Well, let's talk. Let me show my screen for a quick second, because I'm gonna kind of talk about what you just said. I'm pulling it up. So on the screen, something I really want to highlight that Param just talked about is, sick or not sick. So a lot of times what people ask me is, when do you use what system? How do you know when to go to who? What he is speaking about is anything acute, anything that is a crisis right now. You get in an accident, you break your leg, you come down with a fever, you have a cough and you're coughing up green sputum. Anything that is right now immediate, that is for the allopathic, the traditional medical system. They have ways to get you out of crisis. But in wellness, most people are kind of struggling a bit. They're not feeling so good. They have headaches. They're a little exhausted, but they just keep going throughout the day. Most people are somewhere between mediocre and burned out. And what we're talking about is becoming fully charged. Your goal is to get to optimal wellness. And so while Param and I started our careers as clinicians doing the crisis work and learned the physiology and the pharmacology and pathology of all of that, we have moved up the spectrum to helping people, even if they're feeling mediocre or a little bit exhausted, that they actually can feel fully charged in their life if we help them pick up the signals early. So, Param, you and I going back and forth on writing the sleep chapter, which is called Chapter 7. It's called Sleep Your Way to Health. What was that like for you? How was it?
And I think probably like the other people that have been able to share the time with you, it's wonderful when we can put it into a bigger conversation, because the topics are great, and that's what sometimes brings us through. Always imagine the central room, and it doesn't matter what door you come through, and at different times of the day, different times of our lives, we come in through different doors. And that conversation used the sleep door as an opportunity of entry, but also that of helping people come to the sleep door. It's always something I enjoy doing. And again, many people have noted this topic of, call it burnout, or that of exhaustion. It's a topic that's been there. And again, the timeliness of this couldn't have been timed any better. And helping people appreciate it is a symptom or it is the answer, and helping people realize that the answer is yes. We want to help people connect. And again, it doesn't matter what door, but please keep sleep on the list is what we wanted to get through. And I think we were able to do that in writing it together.
Awesome. Well, Param, if people are struggling with sleep and they're listening and they get they get powered by me and they read the chapter, what's a way that if they decide that they need, because we give them lots of tips, make sure your days beget your nights, make sure your nights beget your days, that you're setting yourself up for a wake sleep cycle that works with your body. We even talk about the three important, well, there's lots of things that happen when you sleep, but we're going to simplify it to physical repair of your muscles and your immune system, consolidating memory, and emotional processing. We talk about things like that so people know that there's not just an external to-do list that people have, but there's also an inner to-do list that's going on while they sleep. And let's say they read this, they get all these tips, they do all the things that we share with them in the book, but they still don't feel quite well. And they're curious about this. How can they get in touch with you? How can they get help?
The most important thing is please know that it's there. It's local. Yes, there's people like me that do this, but at the end of the day, it's not about one person. It's about the village. So, with me, you can look up my name. Also, our practice here, Moveo Health, Moveo. That's a Latin word to mean emotion. But please just be curious. And therefore, also a few thoughts. I didn't enter this conversation of health and healing thinking about sleep. It wasn't on my radar. Now, you and I weren't taught this in med school. Candidly, we might have been given a chapter on the stages of sleep and understanding what is stage 1, 2, 3, used to be stage 4, which is now collapsed into stage 3, and also REM, rapid eye movement. Learning about the stages of sleep did not help me sleep better, nor anybody I've ever worked with. So just learning the mechanics of it and the EEG, the brain rhythms, curious, memorize it the night before a test, and regrettably, that's not going to give us much. 3 things that we always want to help people to think about, to go back to the earlier part. What can people do? Just pause. Quantity, quality, which is a little bit more detailed.
Say it again, Param. I didn't get it.
Quantity, quality, and rhythm. And that last one, rhythm, was a Nobel Prize of 2017. What was put out there for the 3 scientists that understood that we are connected to the moon and stars and everything else. So we do know about this chronobiology. Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, has noted this for 2,600 years. It's not a fad. So giving people a pause there to think about, am I giving myself quantity? Quality is being able to get through the different stages. And the rhythm is more or less not only a bedtime, very important, a wake-up time. You can't force yourself to go to sleep, but with some displeasure, you can force yourself to wake up. And I always like to help people stop there. The other part to answer your question is, how do you get going on this? Please know your primary care team at home is being taught this, but they're not given a chance to be an expert on it. So do not set them up other than to be curious with you. I'm often seeing that a lot of times people are limited in the time they have to speak on it. The MD allopathic model has a lot of tools, regrettably, given the time, sometimes pills are there. And Neha, as you often talked about, pills are not good or bad, but we want to make sure, I think as you call them, the skills, having people to kind of be curious about it. So use your curious skills, saying, okay, let's understand quantity, quality, rhythm, and the real take home here is just don't assume it's mental, emotional, and spiritual. It is that. But if there is something else physical, just this past weekend, I had 4 or 5 sleep reports come in. People that have been spending years curious about their sleep. We did testing. 3 of the 5 of them have a sleep disorder that was able to quickly pick up. So it's this concept of bringing it all together. The way we live our lives, and also that way of bringing modern medicine. There is a beautiful harmony. It doesn't always happen in a finger snap, though.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. That's so true, Param. And when you talk quantity, what's really interesting is, you say 7 to 9 hours of sleep is the ideal quantity, and that there's a very small subset of people who can do well with less. But the number of people that think they're that small number is what makes you laugh and what makes you smile. And I love your approach, which is really step by step, in the sense, let's say someone's sleeping 5 hours and we're talking about 7 to 9 hours is what they need, because there's a whole to-do list going on for them while they're sleeping. I like how you say, just add 30 minutes. Like, don't go from 5 to 7, right? Hours of sleep. Like, just do it in increments and try it for a week and see how you feel. Try it for 2 weeks and see how you feel, because the feedback is your own body.
And let me add just something small that was shared with me many moons ago. William Dement, D-E-M-E-N-T, the godfather of sleep over at Stanford. He's passed away over the last couple of years. Truly a teacher to most of us who had the privilege of going up to Stanford. And I remember when I was brand new to this, I said, Dr. Dement, I was so curious. I read some of the details, but many of us find that a night, a weekend, and we don't necessarily feel different. And I'll never forget, the man is larger than life in so many different ways, shoulders out to there, and even taller than I. And he peered down and looked at me and says, "You didn't read my book thoroughly, did you?" He goes, "After 2 weeks, come back and talk to me." And he promptly got up and walked out of the room. And I was like, got it. And therefore, it's that reminder that the body loves rhythms. And therefore, it's not a meal. It's not a date. It's about how we bring it into that of our lives. It's the layers of it, the unfolding of it, and being that of curious. And I know the last thing that a person who's exhausting wants to hear is like, "Hey, can you give it 7 to 10, 14 days? Can we keep the conversation going?" It's similar to talking about healthy body weight, right? We talk about body composition and lean mass. It's not that suddenly somebody has to have 10 more pounds of muscle on them, but what's the process of moving in that direction and understanding what's helpful and what's no longer helpful for that. Giving people permission, I would have to say, is the first thing that I've seen, because it sounds that, again, we want the answer immediately, with the permission to add the next step. And it's really appreciating that who's to say 7 to 9 hours is when they're going to start to feel better. Some people will start feeling better sooner. Lastly, what I will share is that many of us get used to things. I mean, there was times in my life where I was getting 4 to 5 hours and it quote unquote worked. Now, mind you, I was at a different time in my life and I had a little different reserve, but I just wish for people to just, again, principles before methods. One of my favorite writers is Emerson, so I used to write about that. So just understand the principles, layer it in, be curious, give yourself permission, because sleep is not just something that happens. It occurs in the middle of our lives, our families, the me time of our lives. So until we give ourselves permission, it is something that we might wait for, but we have to invite it. And therefore, I appreciate you saying what I wish would be said more often. And that's, a lot of the talks I like to give. The daytime really sets up your night. How you eat, how you move, how you honor yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. All of it comes together. And we need to use that energy to move into the night and to call into that sleep. Wanting people to be curious.
Wow. Yeah, well, I love that. Let me give you one fun fact that ties together some of what Param is saying. When he says, like, our days beget our nights, when you work out, when you move, you have an energy currency in your body called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. And when you work out and adenosine breaks, the three phosphates break from the adenosine, from the ATP, the adenosine goes up to your brain and helps you sleep better at night. So exerting that energy in your body and breaking that molecule apart actually makes you sleep better. So when you work out during the day, you sleep better at night. And so there's all these ways that there's interconnections. So wherever you're ready to start is going to positively affect the other areas. And so we're really, really excited. Thank you, Param. Thank you so much for all your wisdom, going over the, charts and talking to me, and, us having the dialogue and going over the chapter with me. I really look forward to the future and finding fellow souls in medicine that think holistically, think preventatively. I so admire you and I appreciate you.
Neha, to you, your listeners, and your readers, wishing you guys the sweetest of dreams. Thank you.
Thanks. What a fun way to be able to sign everything off. The sweetest of dreams. Okay, I love that. And as he signs that off, I'm going to say we have come to the final leg of the Powered by Me book launch live stream party. I hope it's not the end of anything. I hope it's the beginning. I hope it's the beginning of you feeling better, of you knowing yourself better, of you having stronger relationships, feeling more energy. And when life throws, the curveball at you, because it will. Do you know where you are on the spectrum from being burned out to fully charged? And can you go back to the burnout awareness prescription and just do a quick intake on your net gain or net drain of energy on a physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual level? Do you have tools in your toolbox that when you don't feel quite right, but your doctor tells you nothing's wrong, you've got a clean bill of health, where you can go back to this toolkit and you can say, okay, I wonder if something's going on that's being gone unresolved on a mental, emotional, social, and spiritual level that might be showing up in my physical body. This book is about you learning to trust yourself more. It's about you trusting your lived experience more, listening to your body more. It's about your intuition. It's about how do you make these things tangible? What tools? Really, I wrote this book to help heal myself and get the answers that the medical world couldn't give me at the time. It's about, demystifying and destigmatizing burnout, this experience that I think is a global epidemic. It's about personalizing it to each of you. So what took me this long to do it is I knew my way there, but I needed to figure out how the tens of thousands of people I've treated and listened to and learned with, how could we create a net wide enough that we could personalize the path there for everyone? And lastly, once you know where you're having a net drain of energy, so you can focus there, what are the practical and powerful tools you need to heal? And so I hope that this book fills a gap in our world and is a trusted resource for so many people. And if it's not you because you feel fine, please expand your perspective and your vision, because we need to look out for each other. The day I burned out, I didn't even know I was burned out. It took a nurse and a psychiatrist telling me that I was burned out. And I give you these stories, my personal stories, the conversations between me and other clinicians, the things that happened that went well, the things that didn't go well. And if you buy your hardcover copy of Powered by Me on Amazon today, and then email the receipt, so it'll say today and all of that, to neha@drneha.com. I am going to do a 5-session, 60 minutes each on each of the 5 sections: physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual. I'm going to answer your questions. We're going to create a community together of people that want to talk about this, want to heal from it, want to lead in a way that acknowledges this with real solutions that can help it. So I thank you for your time, your energy, and really for being the inspiration for me to do this. So thank you.